There we go. As John and I have gotten on bigger and bigger projects, we've been getting into building racing engines for mini bikes. We've been drag racing on mini bikes. We have gotten into experimental engine parts, which John really is a big deal in. He likes doing that kind of stuff. One 3D printed connecting rod of whatever at a time. I still can't believe that video gets so many views. But we've hit the upgrade point. We need to be able to be more precise in order to be able to continue what we're doing with the engine building. And so what have I said I wanted for like 6 years?
A mini lathe.
A mini lathe. That's a box. What the hell?
It's inside of it.
Oh, okay. Good clarification. So, we got the cheapest possible mini lathe at like $440. Because they used to be like $1,000 when they hit the market. I have been salivating over this thing for years. But there's a problem with the $440 one that we already figured out this morning. It probably doesn't come with any cutters. So it's actually about $500 because I made an order for cutters that'll be here in 2 days. But we can at least get this unboxed. But John's going to be nice about unboxing it, because we want the box to be able to cover it when we're not using it so that it can live here on our VEVOR welding table that has been here because this is where I want my lathe. I like the table, but the roller table is actually better than the stationary table, and I will post a link for that down below. This table's cool, roller table way better. Get with the zing zing. Why do you look so tired?
I just came from a nap.
You just came from a nap because you went to a wrestling tournament and then you finally won your first wrestling match. Well, you lost the other two, but whatever. And then, yeah, so John's extra tired. Plus, he tried to do some extra training and everything else. Okay, come on. Let's get grinding. So on these, you just simply nick this tab off and then pry this up and it pops right off. There's nothing overly special. Go for it. You know, if I edit this right, it won't look like you screwed up and didn't cut it right the first time. Alright, open it up. Come on. There we go. What we got going on in here?
Blue.
Yep, that's blue. Why does that look like the bottom of it? Did it get flipped over? No, it says that side up, and it's got the forklift feet there.
I see the button.
You can see a big button?
Yep.
Alright, let's flip this out.
Why is there a random cube?
Why is that on top of it? Okay, come on, get that out of there. Will this come up and out? And it's all must have packed in from the top, so there we go. Alright. The plastic's not broken. That's one of the #1 Amazon complaints about these, is that being broken. Oh look, it's got the cutest little box with it. That box is really heavy. What the heck is in here? What do we got? We got gears. That must be the centering punch. That's the feet for it, I think. Not sure what those are about. Oh, that's the jaws, and that must be the key for tightening the jaws up. Alright, cool. So, I know the comment section is going to say something about metal gears. That's the reason why we went with the cheapest possible one, was because if we need to do the upgrades, we'll cover how to do the upgrades and we'll bring you guys in for doing it. You and the yawning wrestler face. You wrestled 3 matches. You can't be that tired. Alright. Let's see. Does this lift out? Okay, maybe this is why the box looks like it comes across. Oh, there it goes. All right, there's another one. Okay, yep, pull that off. Is it bolted down to anything? I have yet to see any actual... Oh, never mind. Parts list. It's a picture. John, it's legit just a picture. Parts list. Wow. Okay, well, you know. Maybe chat GDP told them a picture works better. Alright. This is pretty cool. Is it loose in here? No, it is bolted down to something. Okay, well, I guess we're going to have to flip it up and see what it's bolted to. There we go. Ta-da! We found a 10mm under each side. In theory, it should be loose and liftable. It is covered with everything for grease. Oh, this is probably not how I'm supposed to lift it, but that's what we're gonna do. Oh, that was my finger. Crap. Let go!
Are you okay?
Yeah, there's no clearance in underneath that tray. Okay, that was learning experience. Let's pass on some learning moments that we had. We've had to move this thing like 3 times. One of those is because the tray is not drilled the same on both ends. So we had to lift the machine, flip it 180 degrees, and then set it down. Then we started playing with it and realized that the tray is nothing but a giant sled all over the table, which is why there were these awkward little feet things that we had to figure out, with one person hanging it over the end while the other person screwed it in from the bottom. And that was another fun little mess. At this point, we should be able to fire it up. So if we set this to forward, that's all the way at the off position. This awkward thing lifts up and we hit the green, and then we dial this. There we go. Okay. Let's see if the stop works. Cool. Dial this all the way back. Center that. There we go. Now, currently, I watched a bunch of that fling and shoot me in the crotch. So before I get more grease on my pants, we're going to get that cleaned up. John's over here trying to look all professional because we got a new welder sponsor, and this thing is awesome. It's got all kinds of dial-ins and everything. I think they felt bad for us that we were working on the Monte Carlo with this $89 welder, but we were doing it just to show you actually could, that you don't have to have professional grade equipment. But speaking of professional grade, so we found this sacrificial piece here, and we're going to get back to that in just a second. But this is the $20 set of cutters that's on Amazon that would have normally come with this lathe if I had to spend $20 more. And this is Amazon's #1 $43 set. And holy cow, what a quality difference there is between the two of these. Now, what about this, and why is John over here happy to run the welder? Well, what I do quite often when I'm working on something like this is I have this really old axle piece here. Used to have a idler wheel that was on there, and I use it for punching into corners and stuff in order to gouge the metal in and bend it over where it needs to be, like into that corner there and stuff. And it's square, and it is not comfortable, and it sucks to use, but I've been doing it now for like 15 years. So I think what we should do is take this, have John weld this up with just some cheap flux core, and take this tip probably down to here, make this a nice point, and get all of this shard not nice to grab onto off of here. And then I will be able to have a nice pretty piece that I can wrap in some electrical tape or something. Alright, hey. See how much wire you got out of there?
Oh.
Yeah, you should have like a 1/4 inch at most. You shouldn't have anywhere near that much out there. Oh, but that is way closer to what we needed as far as filling that in. So, that's what we started with, being way too low. That's speeding it up a little bit with a slightly higher voltage, and that was 18 by 300. So we want to remember 18 by 300 for thicker steel. Cool, we'll finish the rest up. Welcome to our first episode of Two Dummies with a Lathe. Got the cutter in there, locked down. Every write-up or video I can find says to true this to about here and then flip the whole workpiece. So I guess that's what we're going to try to do without crashing the lathe. I don't have an RPM gauge on this lathe, so I'm just going to go to what sounds comfortable. We're at about 1/4 speed. And let's bring this in. Okay, let's turn the speed up a little. So something is definitely not balanced because the thing is vibrating a little. Alright, what did we do wrong? It's not perfect, but it's prettier than it was. So let's see if we can use that as an end. On this episode, and no idea what I'm doing, I'm going to try to bring this down in order to match this section of tip so we can cut this off where I want it to be. Well, let's try for a very ugly cutoff moment. Because we know the tip on that is bent. So let's see what happens here. Yeah, this is what I was worried about. So this doesn't actually come into the center like it's supposed to. In fact, it actually ripped the tip of the cutter right out once it came in underneath it. So that's not cool. You know what? That actually doesn't look that bad. I'm willing to accept that as usable. Okay, that spring needs to get ripped off there. I don't know why that's there, but it needs to go away. As you can see, there's quite a gap there. And this is a little punch dolly that John and I just made on the mini lathe. And now I can come across and once you push down on that with the end of a hammer, that's all nice and tight. Nothing else fits in there. 3 separate little cutting things destroyed, but we did end up with basically what I wanted, a little bit on the ugly side. But we're gonna blame John's welding because look at that. That's you.
It gives it character.
It gives it character. So we did end up with what we wanted at the end of this, but let's talk about a few things. I ordered what Amazon told me to order, the 3/8 size. I think, from what I can tell, I should have ordered 1/2 inch. So I've reordered a set of cutters that are in 1/2 inch in order to go into this thing. I can thoroughly understand why this gets replaced in everybody's build, because that probably was about 50% of my issues, was this thing moving, coming loose, doing stupid stuff, and just plain being aggravating to use. I definitely have got to figure out something to do about this aggravating thing. This, like, it's funny because I can't get it to flex. Oh, no, there it goes. It flexes all over the place. And I can't figure out just yet whether it's actually in that joint or whether it's this thing. But if it's this thing, then it's definitely going to be something I'm going to work on to lathe out something. What I would really prefer, because of the way my hands are, is a knob that I can grab and rotate. Something more, I mean, for lack of a better example, something more like this that I can do this with. But that's more of a personal preference thing than it is an argument about this mini lathe. I definitely need to get the drill piece that goes into this. That is going to help out a lot with ongoing projects that I have. I need to be able to cut tapers into the core of stuff that I'm going to be making, because I don't just need straight cuts in for what I'm going to be doing. I actually need to be able to cut a taper into it. So I'm not sure whether I have to buy some assembly that goes here that slides the tool this way, or whether I'm going to have to make a boring tool that cuts at the exact taper that I need. Future Neil here. I screwed up. For some reason, there is nowhere in the directions that there are 2 hidden Allens underneath here that allow you to pivot to be able to cut a taper down the center of a bore. Why it is that's not in the directions, I do not know, but I discovered it while I was looking at whether I could cut the taper for this somehow to make my own tailstock piece here. On another note, we have done our first modification. when I went to undo this, I discovered there was actually no marking here at all. So a chisel and a hammer and a caveman, we have a 0 mark for putting this back to where it's supposed to be. So now we can move that around, cinch those up, and we can cut tapered. I'm learning. Literally, you guys saw me cut the very first thing I ever have on a lathe live in this video. The whole honest truth of my first experience. But, that being said, John has decided that the lathe is semi-scary. But I think that's more I was having issues with my learning, and then he feels comfortable when I'm comfortable, and so we'll see if he'll get into it later. But for now, I think we're going to work on the Monte Carlo, and I'm going to enjoy using my character-induced metal punch. And we're going to get some floor things fixed. Hi, I'm babbling. We're at the end of this video. And John really wants to work on the Monte Carlo because that's apparently way cooler than the mini lathe. So with that said, say bye-bye, John.